Thank you.
You will be able to watch this later.
Yes. Well, I can download this and upload it into the Facebook group. So, okay, guys. Let's see. What else should we talk about? Oh, so actually the good thing about doing this Zoom like this is the way we actually do sessions going forward in the services that we're going to talk to you about. So you're getting a taste of how we do business normally. We only do Facebook Lives for certain things, and as you can see, it's not maybe the best thing to always rely on. But okay, let's get started. I'm gonna share our what we wanted to talk about, and oops, sorry guys, hold on, stop share. If anybody wants to use the video, we'd love to see you too. If you want to unmute and even just say hello, that's fine. It's completely up to you. This was last minute, so you might not have known that you were going to be on video. But if you want to, say hello and let us see you, it's always a nice thing. Okay, hold on.
Well, just want us to be seen. I was always told I had a face for radio, so poor people.
Okay.
Wait.
So, can everybody still see me? And can you still, and now you can see the screen, right? Can we get like a little heads up about that?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So, we're going to get going. Whew, day 5. This is kind of like the college admissions experience. You don't really know what's going to happen. Okay, so let's go. Oh, sorry. Okay, I have to go to my other screen for a second. Oh no, this should have worked. Yeah, okay.
All right.
Yeah, so don't forget, we're still, even with all this Michigas and mess, we're still going to pick a winner at the end of tonight. So thank you for being here and hanging on, and in the end it'll be worth it. Okay. And Russ, jump in whenever you want to jump in. Yep. But you guys finally made it. Hopefully, after 5 days, you may not, have an absolutely final list, but I think you really have a lot of good tips, a lot of good resources, a lot of good skills to kind of take this and go and keep moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And really the intention of this is not to have a final list, but it's really to teach, because your list is going to be fluid as you're a student and you go through the process continually. So,
Russ, I think we got all kind of jumbled. Do we want to jump into this, or do you want to address some of the questions?
Oh, okay, yeah. Like we could start there. There are a lot of great questions, but we wanted to talk about a couple that seemed many people had asked. So, I think the great thing about this, for a lot of reasons, aside from teaching you some foundational things and fundamental things and how to put the list together, and even as I just said, as the list gets fluid, you'll be able to apply these same things to the new schools that your student brings in or that you're interested in. But it's generated a lot of additional questions, and I'm not going to be able to answer all of them at this moment. But two that that seem to be pretty strong and continue is one regarding summer programs. And to be honest with you, as I mentioned yesterday, I do a whole session separate on just summer programs, like a whole hour and a half on just that, because people have a lot of questions about it, and there's a lot of rumors and misnomers and all those kind of things. So I'm gonna give you Russ's rule, as I call it, as a guideline, and what I've been using with my students for now going on 16 years. So summer programs are great if they have an agenda and a curriculum that your student is interested in and that you think is going to give them some kind of knowledge, exposure, or awareness of something they're considering to major in, and something that's going to help them kind of craft and think about what they want to do in the future. However, that being said, You never, ever, ever, in my opinion, have your child participate nor invest in a summer program thinking that that's going to be the reason that a child is going to get admitted to a school. Doesn't matter what level school. That is not the case. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean that if your child has a top choice school, they want to learn more about it, and they want to go and attend a summer thing and get to know some admissions people and some professors and lay of the land and the campus. I'm not saying that that's not beneficial, but you should not ever invest in a summer program thinking it's going to give you an admissions advantage. Okay? Now, taking it to the next level, I'm going to go in two different directions. One is, if you think it's just a good experience, you have the money and the time, and your child's looking forward to it, and you want them to do it, by all means. I'm not saying you shouldn't send your child. But I prefer programs where you actually have to compete, not the programs like somebody had mentioned, I think it was Brian, that said, you know, play if you can pay. So I do like it whether you actually have to apply, you have to write a couple essays, you may have to submit some academics information and demographics and get chosen. Sometimes you have to interview. Those are the things that I like, the types of programs. Now, still, that's not going to necessarily give your child any kind of admissions or competitive advantage, but most colleges do know programs are competitive. And I also, in the description of activities, have my students specifically say, applied, went through the process, and chosen for, so we can distinguish that it's a competitive program just versus a pay versus play. So again, I could go on and on about this, but I wanted to topically at least mention it to that degree, that I'm not a big fan of summer programs from a pure admissions perspective. But again, it's not that they don't serve purposes, so you got to think about it. Second one, Deb, I think we talked about was, there's a lot of questions regarding the reach match safety aspect of things, and questions were asked, you know, is it better to have my student go to a highly selective school, quote unquote, more competitive school, or go to a less selective school and be higher on the GPA and the academic index of that school? And the question really, that's another whole nother question that I spent a lot of time on, but I'll give you a couple tips on things to think about. One is, really depends on whether or not financial aid is necessary and a major consideration. If financial aid is a consideration for you and your family, you absolutely want your child to be on the higher end of the academic scale, GPA and CT and SAT wise. The higher they are, the more merit may be able to qualify for, assuming that the school actually gives merit, as we discussed. So if money comes into effect, you definitely want them to be on the higher end at a lower or less selective school. So that's number one. Number two, though, is pure, like we've been talking about, the academic and non-academic factors as well. From an academic perspective, you have to understand that the kind of child that your student is. I had a client not so long ago. She was valedictorian of her high school. She got into Yale. Pretty nice place, right? But after first year, she actually came back to see me somewhere in between, and she was very depressed and upset because she was no longer #1 at Yale. She was only in the top 10%. That sounds pretty darn good to me, but for her,
that's like that's pretty good to me.
Her, apparently it wasn't, and I'm not trying to make fun of it or make light of it, but to her, it was very much, she was used to being #1. She was used to being top, and I tried to explain to her, I said, do you understand you're supposedly among the greatest minds, not just in the country, but in the world at Yale, and you're still in the top 10%. Like, think about the 90% that are behind you. And she was having a really difficult time. So it does depend on how your child is from an academic and a non-academic perspective, how they're going to feel when they're in that environment. Are they very competitive? Are they constantly going to compare themselves to the people who are supposedly better than them or higher ranked than them? Or are they going to be able to be comfortable, just be surrounded by a very intelligent, great mind? So many other things. I'm kind of short changing it a little bit, but I wanted to at least address it because all of these types of questions are great questions, but total topics of itself that we address all the time when we do our counseling and our advising. But then also on top of addressing those topics in greater detail, they're also then specific to your son or your daughter, and also then to potentially to your situation. So once you start pulling away those layers, it's really very intensive, the conversation, the research, and the decision-making process for both of those things, actually.
So Leanne just has a little bit of a follow-up question, which I think is good and relates to what you said. She's basically saying, what if, let me go back a tiny bit. What if your student is a high scorer and applies to a medium rigor school? Is there the possibility that the school might minimize the merit offer because they think that the student is using it as a safety?
It's possible, but I teach my students to make sure that that's not the case. I have a whole process to teach people how to do that. And I'll just give you one sample example. You most likely don't want to apply to a school having never visited it, never looked at it online, never communicated with admissions, never went to a college fair, never talked to anybody. So there's a lot of other ways to show that you're not using it as a safety, you know, aside from just sending your academic information and them coming to that conclusion themselves.
Okay.
But there's a whole, that too, Deb, is, I mean, it's a great question, but there's a whole process I take people through to do that. It's not quite as simple as a 2-minute discussion.
Right. Okay. And we're going to go and summarize the days and what we talked about. And I think some of the other issues that people asked about may also continue to come up.
Sure, for sure. I mean, there were a lot of great questions, and we're not trying to shortchange it. It's just that, in the 4 days, obviously we can't answer everything in 5 days. So over the last 4 days, we tried to give you what we thought were the first, were the places to start that would have the most impact to get you going, no matter where you were in the process, either to fine tune where you are or to just start and leap off and jump off. The homework obviously was, again, not to push it off on you, but so that way you had actual practical experience of learning how to actually implement the things that we tried to show you. The whole point of this is to educate you and your family, but also help show you how to be efficient, time, effort, money, because this, as we even talked about, even though the data that Debbie showed yesterday, you literally could get lost for hours in the data and still find new things, and maybe some's relevant, maybe some's not. So we tried to give you the foundational work of the most important things to kick off the process so you can be efficient through the process. But as all these questions are coming in, which is perfect, parallel to what we were just talking about, so many great questions have come in, but we're just scratching the surface. There's so many other things you're going to need to know relative to essays, applications, application strategy, class choices, how to do college visits the right way, financial aid, interviews. Like, there's so much stuff, standardized testing. So we will get to that and how you can learn more about that, but we try to pick for these 4 days how to, to the most critical points that you can do and start right now. So obviously not going to go through all this again, but financial, very key, very important. You got to make sure that you're in the right wheelhouse. You don't want to be, as I use the car dealership, you don't want to be in the Maserati dealership if you should be in the Kia dealership. You don't want to set up your family for admission disappointment, where your child gets into a school and you have to tell them that you're not going to be able to send them there. So that's why we wanted to try to teach you ways to do this, to make sure that you're looking at the right schools.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's exactly where we're going to go.
Okay. Yeah. No, I just want to add one thing about the financial fit. There was actually a college counselor who posted in the Paying for College 101 group just last week. I'm assuming a lot of you guys are members there. And she just kind of did it as this gut reaction that she wanted to kind of like spill her feelings about, having this financial talk with families, because as a college counselor she's worked in private and public schools. She says she just sees it all the time. that come May 1st, kids are disappointed. Some are devastated because that's when they are first finding out that their family can and cannot afford a school. So, I know that you guys got that gist, but I'm just kind of wanted to.
No, look, Debbie, it happens all the time. People refer people to me, when it's after the case and say, is there any way you can help them? And I said, I'd love to, but, damage is already done.
Yeah, yeah.
By the way, I don't want to go off to other questions, but I see we've had one continued over the same question about the GI Bill. When we're not avoiding it necessarily on purpose, but that is another complete different animal we need to talk about. I mean, the quickest, best advice I can give you is that you need to call each school and see how they handle it, because they do handle it differently. And I can't really elaborate any more to that, but I've seen, Deb, the last 4 nights, I believe the same person asked that question.
Yes, I actually put a link to an article.
Oh, perfect. Good. Thank you. That's a whole nother animal as well. Okay, we talked about academic fit, the importance of that, making sure that a student's challenged but not overwhelmed. And obviously, just even with the whole thing, the question we talked about tonight, that's very important to understand the academic fit, the learning style, the areas of study, flexibility, all those kind of things. You can go, Deb, that's fine.
Sorry, Mike. I feel like I have a trigger finger because I'm not used to this platform.
Then non-academically, obviously, we talked about, and again, I just feel that this is really very important and too many people overlook it. I think it's really critical to talk to your child and make sure that they're going to be comfortable. I always say, if my student who I'm working with, his name is Jimmy, I'll say, you go to these colleges, if you do a visit, and I teach them all the things I want them to do, to try to do, make sure there's Jimmy's people at this college, because you want to make sure that they're going to fit in and have the best success from a social perspective. The clubs and activities are very important. I know you want your child to study, but they should be involved, and they're going to be happier that way. And we obviously talked the importance of internships and jobs and the help that they can give them. And call them out on it. Just accept what they have to say.
Yeah, and I realize I didn't give this example. It's a personal example about the non-academic fit, but I'll just tell you really quickly. My daughter goes to Northeastern. She's a sophomore, junior, just the way that they do their years there. And she has a new roommate who we just met just a few weeks ago. And I was talking to this girl, and she's also a junior. And I said, so how do you like it here? Northeastern, such a great reputation. People, you think every student there would love it. And she says, it's just okay. I said, why? What's the matter? She said, well, I'm from Colorado, and I just don't really get the East Coast people, and they don't feel very friendly to me, and I like to do outdoors stuff. And I felt bad. Like she just, like culturally, it wasn't clicking for her.
Yep. Yeah, and obviously that's not the goal for any of us. So I do think many people worry about, and it is academic, and I get it, and I think I've used this before. I use it with my clients all the time. You're not going on a 4-year vacation, and I get that, but these non-academic factors are really significant, very, very important to make sure your child's in a happy setting to be successful. And then we talked about the data sources, Debbie's favorite part. And we do all kinds of different things and some great questions about this, but you also see how as you look at that data, it again just leads you to more questions and try to frame things and put things in context. So we hope that we narrowed it down from all the data sources out there to the 4 that we like best. Even that is going to drive some more, but it at least should drive you in the right direction. So what we did through the 4 days is try to give you the tools to actually do what you need to do, make some major headway on identifying whether or not a school is a good fit based on your child, your family, and your admission goals for each school using these these 4 critical points. So a couple last things just relative to this before we move on is, again, I can't emphasize this enough, the list drives everything. Admissibility, affordability, process, essays, timing of applications, everything. So that's why we're trying to focus on this and give you the tips and pointers to actually be successful doing this. As I just said before, a happy student is a successful student. And at the end of the day, look, there's a reason self-help is the biggest seller in every Amazon and Barnes and Noble and whatever for, everybody, teenagers and above. Because people are still looking to be happy. They're looking for their happiness. Let's not worry so much. Let's make sure they're in a good school, they're set up for success, and that they're happy being there. That they're working hard, not being overwhelmed and pushed. If you can't get money from a school, we should say it, you can't get money from a school if you don't apply, right?
Well, actually, I put this one in, Russ.
Yeah.
And the reason why we say this, and it goes back to the college list drives everything. If you don't do your research and you're not applying to the right schools, you're not going to get the money if that's what you need. And again, a lot of stories we see in, March, April, is people will say, oh, wow, I didn't get the financial need I needed, or I didn't get the merit scholarships I needed. And you may not get all the money you need to cover a gap, but if you're not even applying to the right places, you're never going to get close to what you think you need. So that's kind of really the comment behind that statement.
Okay, good. Then avoid water cooler talk. That's where everybody says, a lot of kids really fall into this trap, as we talked about before, because they don't really understand how to compare schools. And then, I got so-and-so, Michigan emailed me, and Yale emailed. That doesn't mean that they're interested. It means they want you to apply. So, and then also as parents, we talked about also trying to avoid the bumper sticker envy. The bumper sticker is not going to impress anybody if after the first semester you have to scrape it off because your child could not handle it, was in the wrong academic or non-academic environment, or just was flat out not happy there. So, as we said, and I love this picture, this is real actually too. That like many icebergs actually are much bigger down below than they are up top. And building the college list is the start. And the foundation over the last 4 days we gave you is the start. But the rest of the process is where, as they say, the rubber meets the road. That's where the critical decisions specific to your situation, your family, your student, which also is going to be fluid, is very, very critically important. And this is where the confusion increases, stress and anxiety usually increases, and the peace of mind goes out the window.
Oops.
So, to that, we put something really awesome together that tries to help you to not be at the bottom of that iceberg. Okay, so, and we did this last year, actually at the demand and at the request of clients and people of the Road to College Facebook group. And it's something called concierge service. And we have a couple different levels, which we're just going to talk to you about. So first off, the reason we created this is, as I'm sure a lot of you know, there is a lot of stuff out there, but a lot of it is cost prohibitive. A lot of it is very, very expensive. And honestly, sometimes I don't even know what you get for that money. So we created the service because Debbie and I saw that there's a huge, huge gap and a huge segment of people that are out there, need help and assistance, but are having trouble either finding the right guidance and assistance that's personalized, but also that's affordable and reasonable. So, and Debbie, I know you're very passionate about that too. I don't know if you want to add anything about that.
Sure. I do. I came to this space, a lot of you guys kind of know, I worked in financial services. You saw my numbers thing in the data. And actually my background was I was working for a student lender. And I just saw that the whole student loan space was a mess and chaotic. And I felt it was because parents weren't getting the right information that they needed to get early enough in the process. And when I dug in even deeper, this is now like several years ago, I realized that to help people get a truly, affordable solution at the end of the process, you couldn't just only talk about finances, though it was important, and you couldn't talk only about loans. You really needed to dig into the admissions process, because these two processes, the admissions and financial, cannot work separate from each other. A non-financial decision in the admissions process can have a huge financial impact.
Absolutely.
And nobody really kind of combines those two processes that well out there. And,
No.
and then you layer on top of the fact that whatever guidance you can get, if you want it, is very expensive if you want to get, personal guidance, or you're relying on your high school counselor, which I'm not going to make any more comments, is can be very difficult, and you're probably not going to get the level of quality of guidance that you want to have.
And whatever you get is probably going to be very late in the process when it's a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Very late. My whole goal in everything that I've done with providing content and the Facebook group is to provide community and to provide affordable services, because that's the name of the game. College is expensive on its own, so it shouldn't drain the bank just trying to figure out how to get there.
Absolutely. And that's actually how Debbie and I met each other, actually. And that's why we're together. The synergy is so strong because, I started my own business going on 16 years ago, and I knew I wanted to help people. I knew I wanted to help families and kids with this process. And even my one-on-one services are incredibly, affordable and reasonable compared to a lot of my quote unquote, I don't even like to use the term, but peers. But Debbie and I spoke, and we were like, there's so many people out there that need our help. And that's why we came up with this, what you're about to hear about. And we're really excited about it. And it's really been phenomenal over the last year. So who's the service for, this concierge service? We have two versions of it. We use the high school theme. So we have JV is for families of 9th graders and 10th graders. And then our varsity is for 11th graders. When does it begin? We're starting really quick. The reason being is that we wanted to give the holidays a little time for everybody to settle and get back into things. But now's the time. For juniors, now is the time, because September, October, November is going to be here before you know it. And now's the time to start getting the advice, guidance, and making the progress that you need to make to have a successful admission process. 9th and 10th graders, this is a great time too, because you're choosing classes for next year. You have opportunities, whether it be now or over the summer, to see some schools, and you want to be smart and intelligent about it.
So let me just say, actually, last year when we offered the service, we only intended and my idea was to help, the parents and the families that were in the thick of it. So parents, with kids in 11th grade that were, going through the process through 12th grade and everything.
It's true.
And then out of the blue, people came to us and said, "This is great, but I really need help. Like my kid's in 9th grade or my kid's in 10th grade, and I want to make sure that we're moving in the right direction so that we're ready for 11th grade." And that's the reason why we started the JV version. We weren't even planning on it originally.
That's true. That was based on demand, correct?
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's break them down real quick. Varsity concierge service, this is for families with 11th graders. And what it entails, what it includes monthly training sessions and what we're calling an educational program. Now, the educational program includes monthly office hours. And during those office hours, it's a Zoom call like this. And by the way, during the Zoom call, you can actually ask questions about anything. Office hours, the training session specific to get you through a specific milestone or a time-sensitive thing that you need to do. And then the office hours once a month, you can literally ask any questions. So all those questions, for example, that so many of you have been asking, we answer all those within that hour that we go through things. In addition, you also have some other components like an email component and all that to get specific answers that are specific to you, your child, and to your family. And the enrollment will start tonight because we want to start it soon to get people rolling. But the program it starts February. It goes through January of next year. So that'll take you through all the critical parts, the essays, the applications, finalizing your college list, filing financial aid, hearing back from schools, talking about waitlist deferrals and all those kind of things, and the start and beginning of talking about your financial aid package, as well as interviews and visitations and last standardized tests. It takes you through the whole critical part of the process. So it's really going to help you to be your GPS college success, as I call it. And
So
it's
let me just
near,
give, oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I was gonna say, let me give you guys another just kind of like background on why we think that this approach works. And to me, it's just, it's a business model approach, meaning that if you really look at the information that you need to know, I'm gonna say 80% of it is information everybody needs to know. So it doesn't necessarily have to be delivered to you one-on-one. So we take the information that everybody needs to know and we're delivering it in a group setting. But we know, and you know, that people have individual issues, they have individual questions, and that still needs to be addressed. So we're giving this hybrid approach of here's the information everybody needs to have. You can ask questions about it, it's interactive, but if you've got a specific personal question, you're going to get it answered too. And you don't have to share that with everybody else. You can, you know, send it directly to Russ or myself, and it will be answered, you know?
Right.
So it's this.
Yeah, it is a good hybrid, and I see some of the questions. So, and Debbie, you just answered one of them. So the bottom line is the monthly training is in a group setting as well as the office hours. So the degree that you feel comfortable sharing and asking questions, you can feel free to do that, and we'll answer them right there. But oftentimes, as I go through the office hours specifically, I'll say, okay, Sasha, that sounds like you are asking a very specific question. If you wouldn't mind, why don't you email me the details of this and I'll answer that offline. So we kind of collectively come to whether or not we want to share the specific detail with the whole group or not. The other thing is the training in the office hours are once a month, so it ends up 2 different things. And they're an hour each. We try to keep within the hour and it's all recorded again, so you can listen to them anytime. You don't have to be present, just like all of this is. So you can listen, and they'll be archived. You can go back to them anytime to listen about and hear about any topic that you like, okay? And actually, we also, with this Varsity Concierge Service, during the critical months of essay and application time and
Probably from like August to December.
yeah, finalizing your list and hearing back from schools, we actually offer 2 office hours a month during that busy time. So we're here for you to be able to make sure that we're supporting you through that very busy time with you, your family, and your student.
So Joyce has a question. And Joyce, actually, if you don't mind, if you want to unmute yourself and ask, because I'm not quite sure I understand it. You say, are the Zoom office hours private? So I'm not sure if you mean it's going to be a group of people on the Zoom, but it is only for the people who are part of the
Subscription service,
yeah.
right.
So
it's not going to be on, it's not going to be available on the Facebook page for Playing for College or for Road to College. This is just for people, just like this whole 5-day challenge was not available to everybody. This is just for people who want to join the group, who are going to be engaged in the group and looking for specific help and actually are paying the subscription.
Does that answer your question, Joyce?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Good. Okay, and then somebody else is asking, is there a limit to the number of persons attending? Again, I'm not sure if I'm reading or understanding your question correctly. I'm going to answer it 2 ways. One is, I mean, we don't yet have a limit as to the number of people in the service. We had a very nice size last year. We actually have somebody who is part of the service. They'll talk to you about it. So the number of people in the service wasn't an issue, you know. So that's, you know, I guess when we come to that bridge, we'll cross it, but that hasn't been an issue yet. And if you're asking, the other question maybe you're asking is who can attend? Like, so if you want to bring your student and to listen in on this, that's great. If you want to bring a spouse to listen in on it, that's great. It's kind of like your family is part of the service.
And we're not looking to monitor people and to like be, you know, really strict with this thing. I mean, we're not expecting you to have a party of like 12 families in your kitchen listening to this. We trust that you're not doing that. But bottom line is, what we find most people do is a parent, sometimes both parents, are the ones that participate. Then based on that, they will share the recording with their student for things that they think are relevant. So that's really how I think most people have utilized the service.
So there's a question about college essays,
Okay.
and how we with that.
So yeah, so Essay and application part is a very, very, labor-intensive part of the process. So it's going to be, and again, there's a couple ways we're going to do it. But first off, during the training session, I am going to talk and discuss with you do's and don'ts, the typical types of questions, sample essays, the specific essays for the Common App, use some supplement samples. Like, we're going to give you a bunch of different things, but we also, part of this service, it's not going to be all Debbie and I necessarily talking about everything. So Road to College has a little bit of a partnership relationship with a company called Prompt, and they might come on and do some, that's what we're expecting to schedule, so they can come on and share their expertise and what they would suggest your students do. I'm going to continue with office hours during that time, answering questions. Prompt actually also, I believe we're going to try to set something up where they actually can give you a review of the essay. So it's going to be a lot more. Going to be general information, specific information, and then potentially even much more detailed depending on what you need and how you want to engage.
Right. So and just 2 seconds about Prompt. I personally think they've been delivering an excellent service, and for many reasons, but the one biggest reason is they have been able to review so many essays. Honestly, probably they're up to 40,000 essays, that they have taken that knowledge and turned it back into giving excellent guidance to students about what types of things they need to include in essays, how they structure essays. So it's not just, I know there are a lot of essay coaches out there, and I'm not saying anything bad about them, but they don't get the same perspective about how students are approaching their essays, what's working and what's not working. And I think that's the tremendous value that companies like Prompt can bring.
Right. And I also, though, relative also to the Common App, we're going to talk through the Common App. We're going to go through the different sections. We're going to talk about how to do things, what to do, what to list where, how to answer questions. It's a very, very detailed, elaborate help to make sure you get through that part of the process, which is very, again, work intensive successfully. Honestly, for the cost of this program, that alone is going to get you where you need to go and be more than worth the investment.
Okay, so
want to go on to the JV?
Yeah.
So then the JV, which is then for families with 9th and 10th graders, it's some of the same components. It's still going to have a monthly training session. It's still going to have office hours. And again, enrollment starts tonight, but the topics are going to be some the same, some different, because obviously if you're a family with an 11th grader, it's on you. So we got to kind of do specific things. It's time sensitive, and we got to get you to make progress through the process. If you're a 10th or 11th grader, what we have the opportunity to do is make sure, as we talked about a little bit last night and even the night before, it's talking about making sure that you are navigating this process early on and building the foundation financially, academically, and otherwise, hopefully put yourself in the best position for the right kind of admission goals you, your family, and your student are looking for. Somebody had asked, one of the questions I saw is, could you give us an example of the types of schools that the kids are going to? From a personal perspective on my one-on-one counseling, every school in the country, including Ivy Leagues, to schools you've never heard of. From even this concierge service, though, we have had some very, very high-end students going to Michigan, UVA, Dartmouth, very high-end schools, and then we had other people going to local schools that honestly, some of them I had to do some research on to get more understanding about, to be able to tell them if I thought it was a reach, match, safety, money potential, and all that kind of stuff. So depending on how you are asking that question, and no matter what your admission goals are, this service is going to help you get from A to B. Actually, this one is more like, I shouldn't say A to B, this is probably going to get you from A to M. Whereas then the varsity service is going to get you from M to Z.
Right.
Okay, so it just ensures you're on the right track to achieve whatever success, and that one is $39 a month because it's not quite as labor intensive. It's a little bit more informational. It's still interactive. It's still, we don't hold back. Whatever you need information on and whatever we can help you with, it's part of the service.
And let me just tell you, so we kind of impromptu created the JV version last year. And I would say 3/4 of the people who started in JV honestly are moving over into the varsity program. So they're just
Which I think is a tremendous compliment to what we've been doing. They saw the value, obviously.
And I think the only few people who are staying in the JV, and actually Angela, I don't know if you're here tonight, but Angela was part of the Facebook groups or the past few sessions. She's still staying in JV only because her child is not yet in 11th grade. So,
Right.
Okay.
So basically what this service offers is coaching sessions, and a lot of them are going to be done by me. So hopefully that's one of the reasons we did the challenge also, so all of you can get a flavor, a little feel for, you know, how I am. I like to have fun doing this thing. I'm very hofully informative and have a lot of information, but I'm very interactive, and I'm very forthcoming with an honest opinion on things. Office hours are literally, again, you can ask, and there's nothing that you can't ask about there. And bottom line is, if I don't know it, I'll do research, I'll get back to you. I'm not going to give you any information just trying to impress you and lead you in the wrong direction. There's going to be special offers like prompt and other things at a severely discounted rate. Nobody else is going to be able to get but you. And, you know, it's really, and by the way, you have no obligation to do any of those things, but if you're looking for additional help, we're going to be able to offer it to you at a very low rate. We have tools and handouts, like I said, the essay application process alone. I have a bunch of things I'm going to share with you, the visitations I'm going to share with you, you know, some ways to kind of make a final decision I'm going to share with you. It's time guidance on what's important and going on, not just in the academic and college calendar, but maybe also what's going on with you, your family, your child, and that kind of stuff. And I have 16 years experience that I can share with you on how to address some of those things. And access to industry experts like Debbie and I, but also we're going to bring other people on. And we also take, you know, suggestions too. If people in the group are asking for stuff or looking for people, we were happy to find them. It doesn't have to be all about Debbie and I. So we just want people to come into this that want to engage, that want to benefit from this, and we want you happy when you're done. So we do as much as we can. And for me, one of the biggest things, you all know this, which is probably why you're here, it's the whole peace of mind and confidence aspect. You can go confidently into that college process knowing you research all the options available to you and your child. You really made the most of it, and you were efficient in this process, and you put your child in the best position for college success. So again, minimum, you'll avoid the big mistakes most people make. You'll be efficient with time, money, and energy. And now you might be asking, well, what do you mean about the money? Because this costs us something, right? It does cost you something, minimal, but it does cost you something. What I'm talking about is just with the summer programs alone. I just talked about briefly. I probably saved some of you a minimum of $1,800 to $5,000. Okay, and there's also efficiency with programs, with visitations, with ACT and SAT prep, with all kinds of things. So again, we will teach you as much as you're going to be investing in this service. We will teach you, and that's a big thing I teach my students to do who work with me one-on-one, is how to be efficient and not overpay or overspend, not just on their college, but also on their college process. We're also going to help you achieve your family's admission goals and be honest with you about where you are versus where you need to be versus things you can do to try to be optimal in those things, and hopefully help you to make smart decisions and make sure you explore all your options. Now, these are most of the topics that you'll see. As I said, we also ask the group if there's anything else they would like, if there's anything else they think is missing. This is not, in a gospel, this is the way it's going to be, our way or the highway. We're very interactive with our group. We want them to get what they need, and we help them as much. But these are the key things that we've addressed in the past and are even still addressing now as we finalize things with this last year's group. And I really honestly think it hits about everything. I mean, and you can spend days and days and days on any one of these topics, and we're going to help you get direct guidance and support through all of them. So these are some quick things. I'm not going to read them, but you might want to read them yourselves. This is people kind enough who are in the service or were in the service, and what they thought about it. And we actually have a special guest with us as well, who we'll be talking to in a minute, and we appreciate him being here. But I mean, at the end of the day, people really loved this service and really got a lot of value out of it. And I think, again, for the price, I think this is the best thing I've ever seen out there on a mass scale, to get people the expert advice, guidance, and peace of mind that they're looking for at an incredibly reasonable investment of their time, effort, and money.
So how about Leonard? Do you mind saying a few words? I'm hoping you're still there. I know. Yep, here he is.
Here I am.
Thank you for hanging in there, Leonard. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
So
Happy
But
to-
Leonard,
maybe you could just tell people what what you would think about when you said, okay, I heard about this and I was thinking maybe.
So it's about a year ago, I guess, when the first group started, and we were in the other Facebook group, the Paying for College 101 group, when you guys announced this list challenge. And it was perfect timing. Our son is a junior. Well, he was a junior then. And we were just starting the search. We were just starting to build a list, and we were just starting to think about what this was going to entail. And we knew it was going to be a daunting challenge. My background for just a second here. I'm in the financial services industry. I'm a fee-based financial advisor, have been for 33 years. And I give clients advice and have for a long time about paying for college. But now that my son's actually getting ready to go to college, paying for it's not the biggest issue if you get the wrong school. So the first check was, how do we figure out where he should go, where he should apply, what his grades are like, what his test scores are like, what schools fit. And this group just sounded like a great opportunity to build those things and to learn things that, quite frankly, my wife and I didn't know. We went to college a long time ago when, quite frankly, if you could fog a mirror and fill out an application, you kind of could get into the state school, and that wasn't really hard to do.
Don't tell everybody that.
Hey, look, it's I'm 55, so it's a long time ago.
I'm with you.
But the fact is that now it's a whole different environment. It's a whole different world out there to get into these schools, to go to the school, to pick the right school. And I had counselors that I had available to me, and their rates were anything from $2,500 to $5,500 to $10,000 for private one-on-one. We'll hold your hand. We'll walk you through this process and help your kid get into the right school. And I said, that's great. And then this came along, and I said, my God, for $79 a month, if all that happens is I learn one thing for $79 a month, it was worth it. And hopefully we'll learn a lot more. And if I threw this on top of the other consultants, it would be an add-on. But you know what? We just did this in lieu of hiring somebody personally. We got every question answered that we've needed in the office hours in the first part of the month. And I assume you guys are going to do it similarly. The first of the month is going to be education. The later in the month is going to be office hour. The first session of the month where the education is going on, the information is fantastic. I can tell you the recordings are invaluable. We've listened to a number of them a number of times. I will tell you that in the last year, our son, who is now a senior, he's listened to maybe 2 of them, maybe 3. He really wasn't
Hey, that's a lot.
Yeah, he just wanted us to tell him what we heard that mattered to him and that what he had to do, and he did a great job. We worked on the list. We used Debbie's software programs to look at the merit aid opportunities from the various colleges, universities that he was looking at, that he was applying to. The sheets and information about college visits was invaluable. What to ask and what I would have never thought about to ask these places when you go, and what could have been missed. And right up till now, at this point, he's applied to 10 colleges, universities. He's been accepted to 6. We're waiting for 2 more. The other 2, he's simply been put on a wait list, and he's made the decision. They've asked for a lot of more things for him to be considered, and he's just decided he's already got enough to choose from, and they're not so high on his list that he's going to do any more work at this point, which we've agreed perfectly fine with. We're now figuring out how to compare the offers from the different schools, how to compare the merit aid, how to optimize the merit aid, how to get as much from the universities on now admitted student visits as we can, and put us in our final position for him to make a choice of where he's going to go to school. And I can tell you that the service has been invaluable. And from a value standpoint, $79 a month has been the most reasonable dollars spent for this exercise. It's been fantastic. Russ knows his stuff. And as he said, he likes to have a good time. And I saw in the chat earlier, somebody asked, is an hour enough? Do all the questions get answered? It's a big group. As he said earlier, I've listened to the whole session tonight just to kind of reminisce and refresh. Our questions were other people's questions, and other people's questions were our questions.
Good
So
point.
the beauty of it was it wasn't 20 people that had 20 questions that night. It was 20 people, and 15 of us had the same question. And once one person asked it, everybody was waiting for the answer. And the other thing I would say, now that it's all coming to fruition, hopefully for you guys, it'll be the same. One of the things I think is really neat is in the private Facebook group, we're seeing the other members of the concierge group's kids being admitted and offered and scholarships. And we're all congratulating each other on the success of our kids. And it's been really cool to have this group of about 20 people. I don't know exactly how many are in it, but there's a group that have been steady in all of it and are now patting each other on the back for the great work our kids did in the last year to apply to the right schools, to visit the right schools, to get into the right schools. I think there's maybe one or two, and Debbie and Russ would certainly know better, who are actually already decided. But I think the rest of them are waiting to put on that hat like the athletes, on that April date to pick their school and say, this is where I'm going. And I know for our son, there was a great post on, and I don't know which Facebook page it was, Debbie, you'll know, you'll be able to tell everybody, just yesterday or the day before, I shared it on my son's page. He was not happy. And it said, your child's a senior when you say, have you checked your portal? Have you checked your email?
I did that. I made that.
Yeah. Is there any good news? And I shared that with my son, and he goes, yeah, that's been you every day for months. And you just need to stop already. So, but that's where we are. We're at the point now, we're waiting for answers. We're waiting for financial aid and merits to come through. We're waiting for decisions to be made. And I just can't say enough, the comments that you're seeing here. Every question got answered. We had some personal questions, private questions. We emailed them off to Russ and Debbie. We got answers within a day or two of those. And every month that the office hours were going on, we absolutely got questions answered. There was never an issue of time. I think 2 or 3 of the months, we probably went an hour 15, instead of an hour. And nobody was upset that it ran over. We had stuff to get answered. Debbie and Russ didn't say, oh, it's an hour, sorry, we're done. An hour and 15 was what was needed, and that's what got done. So it's never been an issue of questions being answered. And I can't say enough what I think of it as a value. And again, thanking Russ and Debbie for the opportunity to share with you guys tonight. And I hope you see it and
Thank you.
Jump in.
It was one question. It actually wasn't to you, Leonard, and specifically, but I think it'll be interesting. So somebody asked, oh, this service ends in January. You know what? It actually continues past then, but you can decide whether or not to continue. And there's a lot of topics to work on from January of senior year to June of senior year. So, but a lot of people want to make sure that the whole admissions cycle is covered till December, but actually we are still going in the varsity program from last year.
Yeah, so what we are doing, so for last year, we're actually going through to June 1st. And that way we're talking about college readiness, and we're talking about making that final college decision. We're talking about all kinds of things.
Questions about loans or,
but we also found,
go ahead, sorry.
Okay, so the reason we're doing this though for this year now, for the 12 months, is because that's kind of the really critical thing right now. And some people, like I said, with the non-academics and the things that people sometimes so busy celebrating, they don't think about those really important things for the return on investment once your child's actually going to go. What we thought we'd do this time was we'd let people know and opt into the future months. So we're happy to do that. We're not dropping the ball on you, but we just thought that, we would offer that as something that is an additional to the program that you can absolutely do without an issue.
Anybody?
And then also, the only other thing, Deb, is not to, Leonard, thank you so much for all those kind words.
My pleasure.
We actually had about 50 people in each of the groups. The only reason why I'm correcting that is just, I don't want people to think that it's, we can only handle small groups. We had, significant volume that was all handled, and many people, as you can even read on the screen, felt like Leonard, and other people have reached out to me directly, which is really nice and sweet, via messenger, and thanked me for different things. So I just want to make sure from a volume perspective, we're not limited. And we also have resources if we ever got to that point.
Anybody have any other questions for Leonard? He was very, very sweet. I told him, oh, just sign on at 8:30 and, you can say a few words by, 8:50, not knowing that we'd have our whole catastrophe tonight.
Thank you for doing that, Leonard.
Pleasure. You're welcome.
Thank you, Leonard. Okay.
Okay, great.
So,
So what we thought we'd just say is, look, I mean, at the end of the day, this is not rocket science, but have three choices. One, you obviously can do it yourself, and giving you some tools over the last 4 days on how you can do that, and try to give you some foundational things and some tools and some practice and some homework to try to do that. But as we said, you saw even that list of the calendar of all the other things. You kind of have to do that same process for every single one of those subjects, but then also customize it to you. So you can do it yourself. We're not saying you can't. We're not saying you shouldn't. That obviously is one choice, but it's going to take a lot of time, effort, and potentially, believe it or not, money, even though that's what you might be trying to save. Then the other one is obviously, like Leonard said, and it's what I do also, is you can work one-on-one. I tend to, again, one of the reasons why I do this with Debbie, as I said before, is because I want to help the masses. I want to help people. And as a one-on-one college advisor, I'm incredibly reasonable compared to many people who I don't even know why or how they charge as much as they do. But it's still significant. As Leonard specifically said, $2,500, $5,000, even $10,000 for what we're going to cover for $79 a month. So, I mean, obviously you can do that. You have the money to do it. God bless you. We're not telling you not. Make sure you vet that person out, that they're going to be helpful and a good match for your child. But, you can do that if you want, or obviously you can do what we're proposing, which is our concierge service, because we're going to give you newsletters, recap things, and give you action items of what you should be doing over the month. We're going to give you also a heads up as to what's coming up in the next month. We have the coaching session, which is really interactive and very, very cool. Believe it or not, sometimes during those office hours, people are a little apprehensive at first to ask questions. So I usually cover some things that might be relevant to get it started. And then once the floodgates open, like, it's unbelievable. All the questions you get there, we answer all of them. And then, as we discussed, there'll be 2 office hours for the varsity service during the critical time, and then you get the email access for personal questions that are very personalized to you. So we think it's a very, very robust service and an incredibly reasonable price, and the value, just like we said for this, for the $9.99, if you don't get incredible value in the very first half hour, then something's wrong, and we're hoping that obviously you did get that, and we know at the concierge service we'll do the same. It's the same goal.
Oops, what did I do? Sorry, pressed the wrong thing.
No worries.
Okay.
We were just saying how great you are with technology, Deb.
Okay, hold on. Go. Oh no, why it's not going to the next slide? Ah. Okay.
We can all just do the pose. So, Deb, do you want to talk about this one?
Sure. So I was just responding to a lot of people's questions. As we mentioned earlier, the service is actually starting a week from Sunday. It starts, I think that is February 9th. And the JV starts at 7 p.m. The varsity members start at 8:30 p.m. But because you guys were part of the challenge, and you spent the past 5 days with us, we wanted to give you a special offer to if you join tonight. We, in addition to the monthly fee, we have a general enrollment fee when you start up. But for everybody who is a member who's been with this challenge for us, there is no enrollment fee if you join us by midnight tonight. We're giving you a little bit of time. Actually, I feel, that
we should probably extend it, given.
I know, I was just thinking we should probably extend it because we got all messed up. So how about we say till noon tomorrow?
Perfect.
Okay, so till noon tomorrow, if you guys.
They can literally sleep on it.
Right. So somebody said noon Eastern time. I'll give you till noon Pacific time.
We
Okay?
definitely don't want to bias against our California friends.
Exactly. So, so you can sleep on it tonight, but till noon Pacific time tomorrow. If you enroll, if you join us, there's no enrollment fee. We're going to give you another opportunity if you join by this Sunday. If you're still thinking about it during the Super Bowl and it's, you can't get settled, but if you join by Sunday, we're going to cut the enrollment fee and only make it, half. And so it will be $49. But if you miss Sunday, it's going to go up to the normal enrollment fee, which is going to be $99. And, you can join until right before we start, but, you're going to pay the full amount. So I hope, I think those are pretty good deals on top of the monthly fee really just being a good deal on its own. And if you decide to join, there's 2 easy links. It's just roadtocollege.com/joinvarsity or roadtocollege.com/joinjv. So hopefully you'll decide by tonight. And there are some other questions that we'll continue answering.
Yeah, so Debbie, can I jump in on one? I see a couple questions of people asking, will you talk about this? Will you discuss that? Whatever. We will answer honestly and address anything that our subscriber group wants us to address and discuss. There's not, as long as it's related to college and the college process, we will talk athletic recruiting. We will talk, again, anything and everything. If you're having a personal challenge or issue getting your child motivated, they seem like they're not into it very much. They seem like they're scared. I mean, there's literally that, again, that's where Debbie's experience and then my experience of counseling families and students for 16 years now come into play. We need to get experts in different things. If I feel I'm in over my head, I definitely will let you know that, and I'll either get you in touch with somebody or maybe we can bring somebody in as a guest. So literally everything that you need to go through the process, we will attempt to address as best we can.
I'm just looking through. There was a few more questions. There was one question, instead of me typing it out, are the topics for the varsity versus the JV similar, different?
Yeah, there is some similarity to them because, so as an example, we will talk in the JV service a little bit about standardized testing. We're not going to go into the detail that we're going to need to go into from a junior perspective, okay? Because it's too soon. What we'll talk about instead is, instead of what scores and which tests to take and all that kind of stuff, instead what we'll talk about is when is your child ready to potentially take a practice test? When they do take a PSAT as a sophomore, what does it mean? What do you do with it? And then what do you do if they are accelerated or ready to take a subject test or any of that kind of stuff? So there's overlap and similarity, but there's also a clear distinction depending on where you are in the process.
Russ, what about California schools?
So just so we're clear, I have a proprietary system that I use. I've been using for 15 years. It has every school in the country. So I use that to match safety aspect of things. I also am familiar. I've visited a bunch of schools all over the country, including California. I have kids and students who have go to school in California. So from a knowledge perspective, I know most of the colleges in the country in some capacity, and any that I don't, I let you know. I do homework on and research, and I'll let you know what I found. But I have familiarity, and I've done this long enough that it's very rare. I think there was some school you brought up yesterday, Deb, or something that I didn't know, but I don't think half the people knew that.
Oh, you know what? I didn't know that school. I looked up after we left,
Yeah.
and it was a community college.
Oh, see, that's why I don't know. I know four-year schools, not community colleges. What else? Anything else we got?
Any other questions, guys? You can still, if you have questions, but I'm going to go to the next slide, which is, we said we're going to pick a winner. And so basically the person who we pick is going to get a free year of being in the we're going to say in the concierge service. I don't know if we pick you, if you need to be in the varsity or the JV, but whichever one is appropriate for you, we're going to give it to you. So.
And then the other thing too is, to a certain degree, everyone wins in that $9.99 that you paid for this challenge is going to get applied to your first month.
Yes. So let me go, guys. I have a random, oops, that's not what I wanted to. A
Price
random,
Cooper Waterhouse is
Right.
redoing this.
Hold on. Where did that go? Oh, okay. Actually, is it still showing up, or what does it show on the,
Yeah, it shows min max 1 to 148 or something.
Okay, yeah. Okay, everybody, I'm just going to press generate because, and whatever that number is, 114. I'm going to ask my assistant in the background, Vanna, aka Mindy. Mindy is going to look up who was the 114th person to sign up for the service. And if you are still with us right now, you will get a year of the concierge service. So Mindy, drum roll, please. Tell us. Who's number 114? Oops, that's not, Okay, while we're waiting for Mindy,
Leanne had a question.
Yes.
Yes, your list can be critiqued. Yes. See, I'm going to tell you right now. I'm just going to be honest with you. And this might sound a little bit arrogant. I don't mean that. I can just help you with your list to ensure that it meets the admission goals you have financially and otherwise. You understand that that alone pays for what you're going to do this for the whole year, not for a month, for the whole year. Okay, because that is going to save you literally so much time and literally thousands of dollars. So I just want to say that that's not exaggeration. What happened to Mindy? She's sleeping?
I know, I just texted Mindy. Oh, Mindy, Kim Hasselhoff. Kim,
Kim Hasselhoff.
Are you here? Can you, if you're here, you can either type in the chat or unmute yourself and say hello.
Oh, look at that. Catherine's so nice. Congratulating Kim.
Okay, well,
That's
and well, Kim will give you a few more minutes, but then if we don't hear from you, we're going to go on to roll the dice
Yes.
again.
You have to be present to win.
Right.
And hopefully we won't be here for 2 hours trying to find somebody.
Okay, so there's another question. Are office hours private time or still group time?
Group. They're all group. And it's the same. Yes, typically it's the same Sunday of every month. We'll get a calendar. However, we obviously need to account for things like Mother's Day, Father's Day, other holidays and things like that. But yes, we'll get a calendar when you enroll of what the dates are because we've already set them up for the whole year.
Okay, I don't think that Kim is here, so we're going to do this again. I just looked through all the names. Okay, are we ready? Let's go.
Ooh, 9.
Number 9. That's like a lucky number.
You never thought it was going to be so difficult to give away $1,000, right?
I know, really. Judith Young. I have a feeling that Judith is not on the list. I actually know Judith and I didn't see her. So I'm going to go again. We're going to go for the third time. Are you ready?
Ready.
142. Very exciting.
The suspense is killing us.
Right. Oh, my name is Kim Judith. Right, that's funny. Janine Mallon. Janine, are you here? Let's see. Yes!
Yay!
Yay! Congratulations, Janine. Congratulations. So tell us, Janine, what year is your student? Are you going to be in the varsity or the JV?
Junior. Yes, so it
Junior.
looks like varsity. Excellent.
Great. Congratulations.
Very good.
Okay. Well, everybody, join Janine, sorry. I feel like we've gotten to know everybody, and this is what happens. We kind of got to know the last group of families, and they were our first, but not our, you know, and I think it's great to kind of build these connections and bonds. And hopefully, more than hopefully, I think that you got a sense of who Russ and I are, of how we operate, of our knowledge level, and you know what we want to offer you guys, how we want to help, and you'll come along for the ride.
Yeah, the last thing I'll just say, Debbie, is a couple little things. One is, I can assure you that if you take advantage of what we ask you and suggest and advise you on, you're an active participant in this group, your return for the $79 a month, which is a dinner for, I don't know, for two of you at, you know, a restaurant somewhere for the month, you will get tremendous value back, not to mention peace of mind and confidence and less stress and less anxiety and less complication. I can assure you. But you do need to be an active participant. I'm going to tell you, it's going to be worth every dime and then some.
Yeah,
That's not a sales pitch. That's a promise. And I think Leonard definitely, you know, and those testimonials definitely, you know, go that, which I'm very proud of. And that means a lot to Debbie and I.
Yes, yes. And I think what Russ said is great advice. We talked to Leonard, you know, before we, you know, got on the Facebook Live, or tried to get on the Facebook Live tonight. And he said, you know, he loved it because he took advantage of it. And he got every one of his questions answered. And if you decide to join and you do the same, I think, you know, you will beyond get the value out of what we're providing. So you'll get the value, you'll feel comfortable, you'll know you have a place to ask questions, and your son or daughter will be in a great spot, you know, this time next year.
Oh, good. So you have till noon Pacific time tomorrow to get it without an enrollment fee. You have till midnight Sunday to put with a $49 enrollment fee, and then afterwards it'll be $99. So we hope to see you because we're starting soon.
Yeah.
And we're really excited about it. So we hope
And
to
let
see
me
you
just
soon.
tell, sorry guys, I see that to somebody saying that there's a problem with the coupon. Honestly, you are the only people who know about the sign up tonight. So everybody who signs up tonight, I will automatically refund the $9.99. Don't even worry about putting in the coupon. You know, you're the only people, anybody who signed up tonight are the only people from the challenge. So just sign up and you'll get the $9.99 back.
Yeah, no, believe me, we're legit, and he's very, very good with that stuff. So we're not looking to keep your $9.99. We promise.
Right. Okay, everybody.
Excellent. Have a great, thank you everybody for your patience. We apologize for the little operational screw up. Thank you so much.
Yes. And Claudine, yes, I'm going to download this recording and we will put it on Facebook. I am, again, so sorry that there was a mishap with Facebook, completely out of our hands, but you guys were great. You quickly followed us onto Zoom, and I'm glad we had the opportunity to go through this tonight, and honestly had the opportunity to be with you guys for the past 5 days.
It's been fun. Hope you enjoyed it.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Good night, everybody.